Well, we got ourselves a snow day, ladies and gentlemen. I did not think this was gonna happen. It's been a couple of years, at least, since we've had decent snowfall in Tacoma. It's not much, it's only maybe barely even an inch, but it's enough to blanket the ground, and I think it's enough to warrant going out for a little nighttime, long exposure, snowy, peaceful evening in Tacoma. Do a little photo mission, and yeah, see if we can get any interesting photos, which it's hard not to get interesting photos in snowy conditions like this. At least they'll be interesting to me because, you know, it's not super often that Tacoma gets blanketed in snow like this, so just capturing the neighborhood and stuff with snow on the ground I think will be pretty sweet. And yeah, I got a hot big ol' thermos of peppermint tea. Very excited about it. We are not resorting to gas station coffee at 7 p.m. Let's go see what we can find. Alright, the first shot that I spotted is of this old car that has some snow caked on it. It's gonna be one for the 65mm lens. So we'll slap that on right now. Just kind of sitting here waiting for a car to lose control and slide right into me. Okay. So there's lots of reasons to love shooting in the snow, especially if you're not from an area that gets a ton of snow. One of the reasons why I like it, and especially for the video side of things, is that snow reflects light really well. So even though I'm shooting at nighttime, you can get some pretty sweet lighting conditions. Oh.
Fucking I didn't hit anything, did I?
Nope, you're good.
That was close, man.
You're good. That guy right there just slid out up onto the sidewalk, managed to avoid 2 telephone poles, almost ran into somebody's house, but he's all good. Very easily could have just slid right into me and killed me. Okay. All right, so here's the unfortunate situation. The only film stock I had available to me tonight is Gold 200, which is not ideal for nighttime long exposures. I would much prefer Portra 400, but given the price of Portra 400 these days, I tend not to buy the stuff. But in this particular situation, it would be nice to have it. I used my digital camera to get a meter reading on this scene, and it looks like it's f8 at 8 seconds. I forgot my phone at my house, apparently. I can't find it on me at all or in the car. And I use my phone to get the reciprocity failure charts for the different film stocks that I use. I don't know what Gold 200's reciprocity failure chart even looks like, but I'm just going to use Portra 400's tonight, but I can't look it up because my phone's at the house. So I'm completely guessing, and I want to say it's around 25 seconds maybe. I'm just going to go 30 seconds on this one. It's pretty much a guess, but yeah, we're just going to roll with it and hope for the best here. And we're gonna get the car immediately. Unfortunately, I'm gonna pause the exposure and pick it back up once this car passes through. Use the multi-exposure mode. Pick it back up for another 20 seconds, starting right now. About to get another car coming through the frame. So I'm gonna pause it again. This first shot is 3 separate exposures, totaling 30 seconds of exposure time. Let's hope to God it turns out. Well, as you can see, when I decided to do a multiple exposure of this frame to avoid those headlights passing through and rendering into the photo, I bumped the Mamiya a little bit. That threw the position off and created this blurry effect that you see in the photo. So not a sharp image at all. When it's zoomed out, you know, it's kind of hard to tell, but at the second you zoom in, I mean, it's pretty apparent that I adjusted the position of the camera when I went to activate the multi-exposure switch on the Mamiya. And this is likely due to the fact that I just wasn't being careful enough, and also I was using my lightweight, smaller, more flimsy tripod as opposed to my heavier duty, more sturdy tripod that I typically shoot on. So if you take a look at this other photo, this was a multiple exposure as well. This was 2 separate shots, and I used the multi-exposure switch on the Mamiya, but I was using that heavy-duty tripod, and I was being extra careful not to adjust the position of it at all. And as you can see, this is nice and sharp, and that just did not occur for this frame. You just got to, when you're using a tripod that is as lightweight as the one I was using, you got to be very, very delicate and make sure not to adjust the position of the camera at all, or else you'll end up with a kind of trippy, blurry effect that, in my opinion, is not very desirable. All right, phone is acquired, and the hot tea is officially the play in the thermos. God, yeah. This fires me up. This is good news. We're heading back to that same spot so I can get a photo of the house that Australian dude almost hit. And yeah, see how many rolls I can get through tonight. I'm thinking at least 2, hopefully. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Gold 200 holds up for these long exposures. I don't think it'll be like as good, obviously, as Portrait 400, but if I get the exposure times correct, I don't think it should be too bad. Okay, so this is gonna be f8 at 8 seconds, 15 seconds after reciprocity. I'm gonna put the 43 mil on too, because I'm gonna get a shot that includes this street light off to the right side of the frame. I think that'll be a nice touch potentially. I also just wanna say thanks everybody for the really kind words on my last 2 videos. The feedback on those simpler vlogs was really positive, which is great to hear. I'm gonna continue to put those out more frequently. I mean, hell, that's what I'm doing right now. So we got the 43 mil on, and I'm just gonna frame up this same subject with this wider lens so that we can include the street light in it. Have to multi-exposure this one as well. Car drove through. Well, as you can see, I made the same mistake twice. Did another multi-exposure on this image and ended up with a nice and blurry final photo. So it just reiterates how important it is that if you're using a tripod that isn't super sturdy, you know, you're using a lightweight one that's easy to move around, and whether or not you're using the multi-exposure switch on the camera or you're putting a lens cap in front of the lens to pause that exposure to let the car pass in front of the frame or whatever it is that you're doing, you got to be extra careful to not adjust the position of the camera, or else you'll end up with a nice and blurry final image like this one here. Well, I just turned around and noticed this house on the corner of the street here. It's got some lights on inside, and I'm kind of framing it up with this stop sign in the left side of the frame, kind of in the foreground, which might end up looking kind of cool. So I'm going to throw the 65 mil on, another f8 at 15 seconds. Oh shit, these people are walking in front of the frame. I'm kind of surprised that those people didn't end up in the frame, didn't render in at all, so that's kind of interesting. But I'll use this photo to talk about the raw image results from Kodak Gold 200 at nighttime. If I go to the raw image that I got back from the lab, you'll see that it's quite yellow. Got this pretty deep greenish yellow tint, and you know, that's just kind of the natural tonality of gold. It's a warmer film stock, and that really is apparent when you shoot this stuff at night. So I just did some basic color balancing, just basically went into the midtones and shadows and kind of dragged them more into the cooler side of things. Just because I like a bit more of a natural looking image. I mean, if you're into that kind of yellowish tint and you think it's kind of a cool look, go for it. But I just like a little bit of a more natural and neutral looking photo. So those are basically the main adjustments that I made with each image, as well as, you know, adjusting the contrast and shadows when necessary. But yeah, for the most part, just some minor mid-tone and shadow color adjustments, bringing up the contrast on the majority of these photos, crushing the blacks a little bit, and it was pretty simple to get these images into a state that I was pleased with. I think this frame will be nice. The only bummer is that there's no light source really illuminating it like there is out on the main road here. So this is a much darker composition, so the exposure time is going to be quite a bit longer, but since I'm not shooting in the direction that any cars would be coming in, I'm not really worried about headlights hitting my frame or anything like that. So we'll do f8 and probably going to be sitting here for a little bit, but this car is really cool because it's already kind of dirty, and just from the light that's the way it's lit and the snow on it right now, it kind of makes it look like it's a animated car, if that makes any sense. I don't know, just the definition and texture of it's quite interesting, and then just the way that it's framed up with the garage right in front of it and these kind of shrubs that with the snow on them is, I think it just comes together nicely. So meter this and give it a try. All right, so it is going to require an extra stop of light, so it's going to be f8 at 16 seconds, which after reciprocity, again, I'm guessing reciprocity, or I'm just using this 200 ASA thing on my app, but that's going to be 33 seconds. And I'm going to use the video light on my video camera, my little Lume Cube, on its brightest setting to pump some light into the frame, but even with that, it is going to be a 33-second exposure at f8. Well, I think this is the first photo from the evening that I was really pumped on. Pretty much turned out exactly the way that I wanted it to. As you can see, the dirt on the car and the way that it settled on the vehicle kind of provided that interesting texture that I wanted to capture. And then I like these footsteps in the snow going off into the distance down the sidewalk on the right side of the frame. And although this was a dimly lit scene compared to the other photos that I shot this evening, and I just bumped up the exposure time a bit and used Portrait 400's reciprocity chart, still turned out pretty much perfect. And you'll actually see that the raw file has a lot less of that yellow green tonality that I kind of saw with the rest of the images. So I really didn't have to do too much to this image, just balanced out the shadow color tones a little bit and then bumped up the contrast ever so slightly, and this is pretty much exactly the way that I envisioned this photo turning out. So yeah, I think as you'll see with the rest of the images from this evening, Gold 200 is a viable film stock to shoot at night. Just using Portrait 400's reciprocity chart, I got exposures that were pretty much perfect. Nothing really too over or underexposed. I was really happy with the results. All I really had to do was just balance out the colors a little bit. But other than that, I think, if you're stuck with Gold 200 for nighttime photography, you'll be just fine. Okay, I think I see some opportunity around here. I like this little house. I like this intersection. There's street light illuminating this cool tree, a couple other cool houses. So we might be able to get some frames off here. Okay, I got the 43 mil on and kind of doing an interesting composition, I think. I'm getting this small house on the right side of the frame, but I'm going to include the alley in the left side of the frame. I'm not sure it's the most pleasing to the eye composition, but I like the fact that the alleyway is in the frame. And then I'll load up the second roll, and I think I'll do a vertical shot of this house more isolated on the 43 mil lens. But by using the 43 and shooting it vertically, I'm going to get a lot of this snow in the foreground because I do want to highlight the snow tonight. I don't want that to go overlooked. So let's grab this first one, landscape orientation. We'll load up this new roll afterwards and shoot a different composition. Meter reading for this one was 10 seconds at f8, which will bring us to a 19-second exposure. We'll go ahead and round up to 20 seconds. And I am just praying to God that these exposure times are somewhat correct. I almost forgot to put the 43 mil lens on. That would have been highly unfortunate. Yeah, so I'm not sure why I thought this composition looked awkward when I was looking through the viewfinder, because looking at the final result, I think it's actually one of my favorite photos from the evening. I love the alleyway kind of cruising down the left side of the frame. I love the lights on in the house to the right side of the frame, and then I love the juxtaposition of color, how we kind of have the greenish yellow color on the right half, and then those red purple lights that are deep in the left side of the frame. Really, it all balances out really nicely. And then the sky is really cool too, with those kind of motion blurred clouds moving through the center of the frame, and then some natural blue vignetting in the top corners. I'm really happy with the way that this composition turned out. Okay, well, unfortunately, the lady that lives at the house I just took the photo of just got home. Probably got creeped out that I was taking a photo of her house and decided to close her blinds. And I think the fact that there was some light coming from inside of the house is one of the reasons why that composition kind of worked as well as it did, or as well as I thought it would. So now that the blinds are closed, I don't think it's as cool, but I don't know. Since we're here, I might as well still just frame up that vertical composition I was looking at. F8, 20 seconds again. Little tip for shooting in the snow, which is probably so obvious I don't even need to say it, but if you're shooting a picture of a subject and you want to get different vantage points, always start with the perspective that's the furthest back, because if you have untouched snow in the foreground or any part of the frame, you know, I typically like to leave it looking untouched unless you want footprints in the snow in your frame. If that's the look you're after, great, but you know, for me, I like that untouched snow look. So I'll start from the composition I want to shoot that's furthest back, and then slowly move my way closer and get those tighter compositions, just so that I can make sure to get untouched snow in my photos. I think this brick house looks really nice. The light from the street light is reflecting off the snow and illuminating it quite well. And there's actually some kind of clear sky in the background too, so if any of that renders into the frame, I think that'd be sweet. I just wish there were some lights on though. It's rather dark, but what are you gonna do? Okay, for this shot, got my camera set up, framed up just the way I want it. Vertical composition of kind of the corner of this house here, but this street light is casting a shadow because of my tripod and camera setup. You can see it right there, and it's gonna get into the very bottom part of the frame. So I am telling you guys right now that I will be removing the shadow in Lightroom once I get the scans back. You just got to do what you got to do sometimes. It's probably just going to be in the very bottom part of the frame, and it's just one of those situations where it's nice to have some digital tools that make it real easy to get a photo looking the way that you want to get it looking without compromising the integrity of the image. You know, I don't really think removing a shadow in the bottom part of the frame is a big deal at all. So that's the plan for this composition, but I think it should turn out pretty nice. It's going to be 20 seconds at f8, and after reciprocity, I'm going to go ahead and take a guess that is around 40 seconds. Let's see, 44 seconds after reciprocity. So that's what we'll roll with. Oh, it'd be so perfect if there was just like a light on in one of the windows here in this house. That would just make it so much more interesting, but hopefully it's still decent. So on this photo, I think my shutter release cable actually ended up getting jammed, and the exposure time ran on for an extra 15 or 20 seconds, because if we take a look at the raw file, it's pretty bright, especially up in the sky and down in the foreground. It almost looks like it was shot during daytime. It's kind of strange. So I had to make quite a few adjustments to this image. I had to bring the exposure down, the highlights down. I had to create a mask in the sky and adjust the color temperature to kind of make it look more like it was shot in the hour of the day that it was shot at. So I had to make a good amount of adjustments to this image, but yeah, I was kind of shocked to get the raw file back from this shot and see just how strange it looked, because that snow really was reflecting a lot of light, and the extra time I think that I added on to this exposure just created kind of this weird effect, but it was still fixable in Lightroom just with a little bit more adjustments than I'd typically make on a nighttime shot like this. All right, so update. The snow has started to fall again, which is not ideal for photography because that means my gear gets all wet. You know, you want the big snowfall and then just nice little dry spell where the temps stay cold so the snow sticks around, doesn't turn into yucky slush. But yeah, right now some flakes are starting to come down again, so I'm back in the car, warming up a little bit, and drinking some tea, of course. And I got 7-8 shots left on this roll of gold, which we'll definitely finish, but I'm just going to wait for this brief period of snowfall to subside. And I'm going to continue to drive around right now and try to find some potential compositions that I want to shoot once the snow settles down. But yeah, what a fun surprise tonight. I didn't expect at all for there to be snow. I saw there's a very small chance of some snow in the forecast, but did not anticipate any sticking to the ground and, you know, creating this kind of winter wonderland that we got going on right now. So that's pretty fun, and yeah, it's definitely a nice motivator to get out and shoot some photos because this, like I said, this just doesn't happen all that often here in Tacoma, and you got to take advantage when it does happen, of course. Whenever I hear someone say that they aren't looking forward to a snowy day, I question their mental health. Okay, the snow has paused briefly, and I think I found my next composition. We got this house in the corner of the street here with a nice warm light on inside, and the glass windows are kind of textured, which is interesting looking in my opinion. So I got the 43mm lens on, and I got this composition framed up so that I'm looking down the sidewalk and down the street on the left side of the frame, and the house is on the right side of the frame. Got it metered at 10 seconds, which is 19 seconds after reciprocity at f8, and I'm at an intersection where I see a couple other shots that I think I'm gonna want to get. So yeah, we might end up shooting 3 rolls tonight. I mean, it feels like I got to, right? This doesn't happen all that often, and I got to take advantage while the snow's on the ground. So let's fire this first frame off in 3, 2, 1. Okay, this next composition is of this house that's across the street from the one that I just shot. And again, I'm utilizing this 43mm lens, super wide, just to try to get the whole scene in frame, really highlight the snow. I got this street light out in front here that I like the look of. We are ready to shoot this frame in 3, 2, 1. I really lucked out with the sky this evening, kind of pockets of clouds, pockets of blue sky. The clouds were moving really quickly, so these 20 to 40 second exposure times allowed for this kind of motion blur effect to take place in the sky, and I just really like the color blotches that are happening in a lot of these frames, and it very easily could have just been a totally overcast night, which doesn't provide as interesting results as something like a kind of partly cloudy evening, or just an evening with a completely clear sky, because then you can really get those deep blue colors that I think add a lot to these photos. So I'm liking this frame a lot, this house, the truck, the street light right here. But again, I'm making sure to not walk in this area because I want to leave this untouched snow as is. Of course, there's tire marks and everything already rolling through it, which it is what it is, but I don't need to add additional footprints to this frame. I just want to leave it as clean as possible. So I'll go ahead and set this up on the 43mm lens, I believe. Get a nice little shot of this house on the corner, street light. Should look pretty good. Okay, I got the 65mm lens on for this one. This is a straightforward shot of the first house that I shot in this neighborhood. Yeah, I really just like the light that's coming through the window. That's the main attraction for me. I think this scene is getting a little bit darker, so I'll grab the camera here and re-meter this. So yeah, we're getting 20 seconds on this shot because it's a little bit darker. There's no street lights or anything in the frame, so 20 seconds is 44. After reciprocity at f8, we're all focused up here. 65 mil lens is on, and we will go for 44 seconds here in 3, 2, 1. I just think this light is too good, and I'm gonna frame up a new composition, get a little bit closer here, shoot it vertically, I believe. Yeah, I like the way this is looking. Well, the video light on my camera died, so I'm blasting it up to 6400 ISO. It's probably gonna be noisy as shit, but what are you gonna do? I got this new composition of this same house framed up, got a lot closer, shooting it vertically. We're really highlighting that warm light coming from inside the house. We're really channeling our inner Todd Hido for this one. And I actually do think this is going to be a pretty solid photo though. So we got the 65 mil lens still on here. We're at f8, it's 20 seconds, AKA 44 seconds. You know the drill. 3, 2, 1. I am liking this subject a lot. Got a street light. Also, well, we got 2 street lights. One's got crosswalk light on it and the school zone speed limit sign. It's kind of a busy frame compared to what I've shot already, but it is laid out really nicely and works well. So I think this will be a job for the 43, which is what I got on. And we're gonna get all this in the shot. We're gonna get both street lights, the tall one and the short one, and yeah, this house in the background with these bushes that are covered in snow in the foreground is money, I think. Well, of course we are loading up another roll. I am gonna shoot another photo of this same house, but with the 65 mil. Get a more isolated shot of just the house and the street light to the right. So I'm a dumbass and I had the 65 mil on for that last shot that I thought I had the 43 mil on for. I am so dumb. That's an issue with the Mamiya. Well, it's an issue with me, but it makes it easier to forget. Like when you're swapping lenses so much, sometimes you just forget to actually change to the lens that you want on. You forget you have the other lens on. I don't know, it's happened to me multiple times. So I got the 65 mil on, I had it on, so I'm framing up the 65 mil shot that I was looking at, which is gonna be f8 at 20 seconds. Then we will switch to the 43 and get that original shot that I thought I got. So let's do this. All right, now we're in business. 43 mil lenses on. For photos like this, I never know if it's better to have the stop sign up on the crosswalk light or the walk symbol. I was about to get in my car, but I spotted this little walkway up to somebody's house. It's got this nice tree above it that looks pretty cool. Let's do it. I might have something here. I'm liking the way that car is looking with the house in the background. I can throw the 65 mil lens on, shoot it from like right on this grassy patch here. There's some snow in the grass there. I'm gonna get multiple shots of this subject, starting with the shot a little bit. Ooh, that looks cool too. Straight onto the house I already shot. Uh-oh, okay, we're firing off a few different frames here, that's for sure. I'm gonna start with a wide shot, 43 mil lens. I think it's gonna be better to get a little bit closer for this shot, but I wanna just try this one out. Pretty much every time I go out and shoot with the 43 and 65 mil lenses and I'm switching back and forth frequently, I end up making a mistake like this, which is basically I put a new lens on and then I just forget to focus, or I forget to compose through the right viewfinder. It always happens at least once, it seems like, and it happened on this photo right here. Completely forgot to adjust the focus on the 65 mil lens when I put it on for this frame, and it was focused at what seems to be like 4 or 5 feet. And the area of the image that I wanted to be in focus is completely blurry. So, a bit unfortunate, but this isn't the worst frame for it to happen on. I don't know what's going to be better, the 43 or the 65. Let's go 65. If I'm being honest, I'm probably going to do this one on the 65 and then move a little closer and get one on the 43, but let's get this one out of the way. What did I forget to do? Wind the camera? I always forget to do something. Yep, you do have to wind the camera, believe it or not. What the fuck is going on? Can the shutter fire? What's happening? It's always something. Okay, let me just try it again, I guess. I did move closer. I did put the 43 mil lens on, and the only reason I did so is because there's this tree off to the right, and I want to get more of it in the shot. It was a bit cropped out with the 65 mil on, so with the 43, I'm able to get more of it in the frame. I think it might look a little bit better, or at least it offers me a couple different options once I get the scans back to kind of decide which I prefer. And I'm not sure which photo that'll be right now, so we're just taking both. Why? What's going on? Why isn't this? Hello? What the hell is going on? Oh, nope. I just am a fucking idiot and can never remember to release the damn curtain on this camera. Okay, I got 3 frames left. I got the 43 mil lens on. I like this shot right here, the backside of this house. A little bit of light coming through the window, but I like the shrubs out in front, these bushes that have a little bit of snow on them. And yeah, I think this has some good potential. It's a little bit longer, a little bit of a longer exposure because it's a little darker. 30 seconds at f8, which is going to be 1 minute and 11 seconds. So longest one of the night so far. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this right here I think is my favorite frame of the evening. Absolutely love how this one turned out. The colors are wonderful. The exposure is great. I love the straight lines. It's a simple photo, and yeah, just compositionally, absolutely love this one. It was funny because I had somebody poke their head through the blinds in this window here as I was taking the photo, and they just kind of opened the blinds up, looked outside, saw some creepy dude taking a photo of their house, and was probably a little disturbed, but thankfully they didn't come outside and shoo me off or anything, and I was able to get this exposure off, and it ended up being, I think, my favorite from the night. And yeah, I'm just really, really pumped on pretty much everything about this photo. I love the green colors in these bushes out in front here. That adds a lot, and I like the fact that it's kind of like covering, these bushes are covering like half the house. It makes it a little bit more mysterious, and then the light coming through the window is a nice touch as well. So super stoked on this image. I think this is kind of cool, this old Trans Am underneath this tree. Got snow on it. I got 2 frames left. I'm getting cold, and I'm getting ready to get back inside, so I'm just kind of firing these last 2 off without much regard, but that is okay. And the shutter didn't fire again. Why? Probably because I gotta wind the fucking camera. It's getting to that point in the night, guys. The brain is not working anymore. Last one of the evening. I actually like it quite a bit. But this street light off to the left side of the frame is like gonna barely be in the shot, I think, which I'm not really digging. I just don't think there's a way to get it completely out of the frame because I want to get this tree in the shot. So I'm just gonna fire it off and hopefully it ends up working out. I'm at the point where my thumb doesn't really work anymore. I didn't wind the camera again. Holy shit, it's bad, guys, it's bad. It's bad. After I finished the second roll, I was debating on whether or not I wanted to load up a third one and stay out even longer and take more photos, but I'm glad that I did because these last 3 images that I took, I think are my top 3 favorites from the evening. The last 2 shot on the 43mm lens. Just love the sky in this last one and in this one as well. And then the way that the red color of this Trans Am pops in the frame is absolutely awesome. So yeah, these last 3 I think are the top 3 winners from the evening, and yeah, it's all because I decided to load up that third roll and keep on shooting. And I found that that's the case in a lot of scenarios that I've had over the past few years. You don't really want to keep shooting, or you don't want to stay out later, and you're cold and uncomfortable or whatever, but usually it ends up being worth it. And at the very least, you won't go back home and wonder what you could have gotten had you stayed out later. You just do it, and whether or not you end up with stuff that makes it worth it, I think it's better at the end of the day just to take the extra time, make the extra effort, because then you're not left wondering what could have been. And yeah, for me in this case scenario, I was left with 3 images that I'm really, really happy with, and a whole extra roll of images that I think are pretty solid. Alright everybody, that is going to wrap up the video. Thank you very much for watching. Had an awesome evening cruising around Tacoma on this snowy night and taking some photos. I got some more images that I can add to my snowy Tacoma collection. The last time we had snow like this in Tacoma was a couple of years ago, and I went out with the Pentax 672 and captured a bunch of images from that night, and now I have some more images that I can add to that collection, so I'm pumped on that. But even if I didn't end up with any photos that I was pumped on from this evening, it still was a great time just walking around, seeing everybody enjoying the snow, out for walks with their partners and stuff. It's just a really peaceful, tranquil evening, cruising around the neighborhood, and a nice reminder as to how fulfilling this type of photography can be. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with the results that I got, and again, thank you very much for the support on these recent videos. All the kind words and feedback has been awesome, so can't say thank you enough. But until next time, take it easy. Thanks for watching. Peace. Squarespace is much more than just a website building platform. You can use it to build a business, sell products, manage inventory, or host an online portfolio. One of my favorite aspects about Squarespace is that because of its extremely intuitive interface and wide selection of creative templates, you can have a professional website up and running in virtually no time, with 0 coding required. There's also a new design intelligence feature that helps you get started with the creation of a new website, even if you're not super design savvy. Just punch in some basic info, select what features you'd like on your site, a color palette, and Squarespace will build a quick website that you can further customize to fit your needs. Maybe you're a photographer looking to get new inquiries and increase bookings. Clients can schedule a session directly on your site. Maybe you have a blog and want to offer additional content to community members. Squarespace offers memberships for those creating exclusive content. There's so many features that make Squarespace the one-stop shop for those looking to create or expand their business. If you'd like to receive 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain, head over to squarespace.com/Brae or use code Brae at checkout to do so.